Treason by any other name. There's literally no other way to describe the actions of Yevgeny Prigozhin over the course of the past 24 hours. The public face of the Wagner Group has led his forces on an adventure that can only be described as a coup d'etat, an effort to overthrow the constitutionally elected legitimate government of Russia, led by President Vladimir Putin. This is a tragedy in many ways. First and foremost, let's just talk about Wagner itself. This private military contractor had assembled a force of 25 to 50,000 fighters who had performed heroically under the most dire conditions in this conflict, this ongoing conflict with Ukraine and the collective West. Most recently, Wagner defeated the Ukrainians in the battle for Bakhmut, the meat grinder that saw upwards of 75,000 Ukrainian soldiers killed and around 30,000 Wagner fighters dying as well. Wagner was celebrated in Russia as this heroic group of patriotic fighters. And now, thanks to the actions of Yevgeny Prigozhin, Wagner has been discredited. It is now viewed as a group that has aligned itself with the Ukrainian government and indeed the forces of Western intelligence to create the conditions for a Moscow Maidan moment. The only way that Russia was going to be defeated in this war, by the way, internal collapse instead of being defeated externally by an enemy. The timing of this is suspect in terms of Prigozhin's stated claims of only being interested in justice. The fact of the matter is the Wagner Group was being compelled by constitutional reality to sign contracts with the Ministry of Defense to align their organization with the law of the land, because private military contractors, while they could perform on the soil of Ukraine or the soil of an independent Donbass, can't exist on the soil of Russia. And the territories that Wagner were operating on are now considered by the Russian government to be the territory of Russia. How did this transformation come about? Well, this is a question that only Yevgeny Prigozhin can answer, but I think based upon what he's saying, the answer is quite clear. He's been bought out. He's been told that he has the support of the Russian people, that if he were to move on Moscow, that if Wagner, this group of heroes, were to stand up to the forces of corruption and bureaucratic inefficiency, seeking out Minister of Defense Shoigu and the head of the General Staff, General Gerasimov, as the primary culprits, that the entire house of cards that is the Russian Federation, at least in the minds of Prigozhin's Western intelligence controllers, would collapse. And so that's what he did. He was told he would be supported by the oligarchs, that he had billions of dollars behind them, that all he had to do is set Wagner in motion and everything will happen of its own volition. That doesn't appear to be the case. President Vladimir Putin has spoken out in stern defense of constitutional rule of law and his role as Russia's commander-in-chief. And under no certain terms has he identified what Prigozhin and Wagner is doing as being nothing short of treason. Prigozhin's gambit will fail. He will be held accountable, and so too will those who have rallied behind him. But the other thing this has done is expose the fact that this effort to achieve a Moscow Maidan hasn't been simply rhetoric. It's real. It's something that the government in Kiev and their Western supporters have been trying to implement for some time now. And by carrying out this action, Prigozhin has exposed many of the people who have been secretly wishing for this to happen. One only has to take a close look at the various Telegram channels and the content that they're publishing in support of Prigozhin, directly or indirectly, to understand who they really work for. Hopefully this will be a cleansing event. allowing Russia to purge itself of these traitorous elements. Yes, the loss of Wagner will be a psychological and physical blow to Russia. They were a very powerful, very capable military force. But in the end, they proved themselves to be not up to the task of serving under a constitutional government. They became a law unto themselves. They became outlaws. And that's how history is going to treat them, as outlaws. This has been more than 2-minute topic, but I think the subject deserved nothing less. My name's Scott Ritter, and remember, knowledge is power.